in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Or wait, maybe it's in 1493, Columbus sailed the deep blue sea. But wait, maybe it's in 1495, Columbus took a big deep dive. Welcome to Truly Terrified, Paranormal versus Physics, where we talk about some really weird stuff, and Joe the scientist explains how it's not possible, or maybe it is. I'm Lynn, and
I'm Joe.
Columbus. We all have heard of him. Some people hate him, some people love him. But I think in school we were all taught Columbus discovered America, and that is not true. But they say that he was trying to prove that the world was round. And that also is not true, because people knew for hundreds of years that the world was in fact round. Ancient Greeks were among the first to realize that the world was round, and Aristotle observed lunar eclipses and noticed that only a round sphere could cast a circular shadow. So take that out of your mind. Everyone knew the world was round, except now there are people who believe the world is flat. They're just believe it's a disc spinning around through space, or although some of them believe that it's not, it's a continuum. It's just a disc that we live in, and it just goes on forever off into the who knows where. So let's talk about people who believe the earth is flat.
Okay.
So flat earthers believe one of the most curious conspiracies on the internet. They think that that everybody else is wrong, that the earth is not round. Even though the Greeks figured out the planet's shape and even its circumference, they had it down to the circumference of it, and they were very, very close, very accurate. In the 3rd century BC, these flat earthers, they just believe that it's flat. So why do they think it's flat? Is it just a conspiracy theory? Is it some kind of stupidity? Is it ignorance? Why do you think they think it's flat?
Well, I think there's various reasons why somebody would think that. One of the most prominent, I think, nowadays that you typically see in all sorts of different subjects is what is a form of contrarianism. It's tribalism, which means this in-group, out-group combat dynamic, where some people, for probably reasons that are best suited to evolutionary psychology, people get pushed to believing things because certain other people believe the opposite. It's a strange thing, but it's a tendency I've noticed. And the most prominent, of course, nowadays is politics. But I think if people can exhibit it here and they can exhibit it elsewhere in time and space, they could exhibit it anywhere.
So the fringe society that we now know as flat earthers, that was founded in the 1950s. So it's been around for a while. This isn't just something that's popped up in recent years. And that has kind of evolved into what we see now with these modern flat earthers. They believe, as I said before, it's a flat disc. They say pictures taken from space are hoaxes. Multiple governments are involved. They have different weird ideas of how the flat disc Earth would work, how you could interpret the solar system, and all of these things are just to really just contort themselves to make it fit this belief that the Earth is flat. Nobody knows how many there are. Nobody, because you can't count them, because the society only has about 500 members. We're hearing a lot more than 500 voices, and if you talk to people, I've met people who believe the Earth is flat. They just, the Earth is flat. I don't believe that. Don't believe people have gone to the moon. That's all, they've got like a movie studio where they do all that stuff. They're all lying to us.
Well, so one thing I've noticed is certain people, they have nominal beliefs, but not real beliefs for something. So like somebody can nominally believe that that we haven't gone to the moon or whatever, or that the space is not real or whatever. But they haven't really thought about it. If you were to like somehow scan their brain with some futuristic technology, it would not show like the same belief that somebody with real conviction would show. It's like you can learn to say that you believe something while not actually learning how to believe it.
It's kind of like religion. I'm sorry, I always go there.
I mean, again, I can only say, like, from my experience, that's another thing that seems to come into play here. Because I've met people who say, yeah, maybe the Earth is flat. and it's a chin stroker because they're not deep thinkers. They heard it, they're saying it again, and it's not like they've gone very far with this.
Yeah.
They're repeating something they heard.
Yeah.
And so you can't, it's not like you can get in a debate with them. I mean, they might be able to infer in the moment ways to argue it.
Yeah.
But it's not like they sat down and did intense research for many hours.
Right.
Trying to come to a real conclusion.
So truly, it's not worth even debating because they haven't even thought about it.
They were scrolling through TikTok.
And they just
they saw it.
That's cool.
And they thought, yeah, maybe.
Okay, there's a public policy polling organization that did a national poll and found that 1% of Americans believe that the earth is flat. Now, 1% of the United States population is a significant number. We figured out that math and now I've forgotten it, but it's like a lot of people.
I think it would be, if you round it up, it would be 4 million people.
Okay. And then an additional 6% say they aren't really sure. They entertain the idea. Are you kidding me? How could you even? One
thing I like to bring up when it's like the figures are like 1% or 6% of something is when you start getting to those like really low or really high percentages, you're talking about really fringe cases.
Yeah.
Like almost invariably, those are the cases you can more or less put into a class of their own.
So it's not statistically
they're not normative at all.
Yeah. Okay. So
they are statistically significant, but it's like expect there to be some weirdness at the fringe.
Okay.
There.
So here's a thought. So if you were not a newspaper reporter, good God, there aren't even newspaper reporters anymore, I don't think. Let's say you have a news show. You're one of the reporters on a news show on TV or on network, on YouTube, on whatever. And you're supposed to find some public interest thing. And there's some freak in town that keeps getting up in city hall meetings and saying, oh my God, the earth is flat. You'd go and interview that person. And then you've magnified that message.
Yeah. So vocal minorities, I think, especially very, very confident people who are vocal minorities, can be a big problem because because they're fringe, because there's interest there, they can be amplified and their confidence speaks to certain people. It's a well-known thing that con artists can effectively manipulate people by appearing to be very confident about something.
Yeah.
People respond very strongly to that. And if you're confident because you don't know what you really don't know what you're saying, or you don't need to know what you're talking about.
Right.
You're not a person who would second guess themselves. Then your confidence could know no bound.
And that is how many people are controlled. So a couple other points I want to make before we end this. There is a rapper singer named Bobby Ray Simmons Jr. He's also known as B.O.B. And in 2016, he said that Neil deGrasse Tyson was wrong about the earth being round, and that he is convinced the earth is flat. He said, quote, no matter how high in elevation you are, the horizon is always eye level. Okay, that was end quote there. That is absolutely moronic if you don't understand how eyesight works and horizons work. That's just idiotic. That's not proof. That's just foolishness.
Like all the stuff I've said so far is like kind of much more like my opinion, but there's something that's really important with stuff like this is you have to be rigorous in your epistemology. So in terms of what you have to be the smartest people are the ones who are very, very rigorous about how sure they are about things. So for instance, imagine you're a flat earther. You say the horizon doesn't change, whatever, when you rise, whatever. So how confident are you about that? Have you been up there? Have you been up in a hot air balloon or a high altitude jet or whatever? Of the cases you've seen where people have gone up there, can you trust those people? You already ostensibly don't trust the people who have been into space. Mm-hmm. So how confident are you that that's even a real thing? So like going up to on a high mountain, would that be enough to show a deviation in the horizon if you were on a sphere? you have to do the legwork to increase your own confidence level. If you are 100% confident in something, that's very erroneous.
I think that what I understand is that these people just attach themselves to an idea and they don't really think about it too much, and they hear a little soundbite like B.O.B. saying, yeah, if you look off in the distance, the horizon is at your eye level, which is absurd because that's not how distance and horizons work. And so you just accept it. And what you're saying is you have to be responsible for thinking about things a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
Truly Terrified is a Salt of the Earth production. Our contact information is in the show notes. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and never be so terrified you can't run.